Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is CoachFury here, and we are back today with the start of Season 3 of our Let's Play series of Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 21. And we are, of course, still with the Chicago Bulls. And you can see I've gone for a little bit of a new banner, a new wallpaper as we enter into this third season. Because I am really excited about this third season. This is probably the best roster that we've had to date on the Chicago Bulls team, and we just had an absolutely amazing free agency in my opinion, and I'm really excited to get this episode started. So let's dive straight in and have a little bit of a talk about the roster again and about how we're going to line this team up. So in terms of key additions, I guess is probably the first thing to start with. And well, the biggest key addition that we had in the off-season was none other than Kwai Leonard. In his prime at 31 years old, 5-star talent, pretty much can do everything on the court that you would ever want. And we are certainly going to be doing our best to utilise his skills as best we can really through this season. And I guess the big thing to say really is that we've basically added Kwai Leonard and not really lost a lot from our rest of our sort of starting five from last year. We were able to bring back Wendell Carter Jr. on a pretty good deal in my opinion, and Jackson Jr. On a good deal. We still obviously have Brandon Clark. Granted, he is extension eligible. I'm not sure what he wants to actually extend. I might look at that in a second. But we still have him. We still have key parts like Gary Trent Jr., who we signed last off-season, and Elfrid Payton, whose team option we picked up as well. So we've basically got our same starting five, and we've added Kwai Leonard. Plus, I think we've got a much better situation. Kobe White has developed into a much better prospect than he was in his first couple of seasons. Obviously, his final year of his rookie option that we'll have to consider what we do there. Tony Jenkins has continued to develop from the D League. And we've added key shooting parts of TJ McConnell. I think is an absolutely phenomenal backup guard, play point guard or shooting guard. Good defense, good shooting. You can see from his numbers over the past couple of seasons that his shooting numbers are pretty good. Not a great three-point shooter, but he's good inside. He's one of those sort of guys I think can operate in sort of mid-range. We added George Hill, I think just another shooter to be perfectly honest with you. Someone who's got good numbers as a shooter. 40-odd%, 48% plus is good numbers to have from a backup guard. And then obviously we've added the likes of Patrick Beverley, a backup guard. He's probably not going to play many minutes for us. Same with Ingles, really. Just some guys who can do a bit of everything. And we brought Kaheem Birch back as well. So we are in really good shape this year, in my opinion. This is going to be a very exciting third season. And well, we've gambled a little bit, because if we go over to our office here, we've got some things in terms of making a deep playoff run, and obviously keep Kwai Leonard. That's changed since we obviously signed him. But we're in really good shape. I'm going to put this zone down just a little bit whilst I'm thinking about it, because obviously haven't changed that since the playoffs. But in terms of the league media, we had a little look last week on last episode. Let's take a little look and see what the guide is, because we are obviously the number one projected team in the East, and it's not surprising. This is not going to be our starting rotation. We'll talk about that in a minute. But no surprise, the Hawks are second. Trae Young is still there. They've pretty much kept the same team as is. Then surprisingly, I guess you've got the Wizards still have jumped up to third. Westbrook and Bill are still around. Thomas Bryant has developed into a nice prospect, as well as Troy Brown Jr. Then the Raptors are up there again. I think the East is actually pretty weak this year. When I look at it, there's some interesting teams in here, but not many that I think are really going to be that competitive with us, in my opinion. But there's been some interesting sort of drop-offs and moves. I'm surprised the Nets are so low. Granted, they've got Irving and Durant still, but and Adams. So I still think they're a really good team. Looking across the rest of the division, though, I think we're in really good shape to have a great season in the Eastern Conference. Flipping over to the Western Conference, the Mavericks are clearly the number one. Doncic is just phenomenal now at this point. He's just that good. The Pelicans are up there as well. Levine, we moved in season one we moved Levine to the Bulls, but they've added basically Williamson, Levine, and Ingram are kind of the key pieces there. The Golden State Warriors are still hanging around. Basically, Steph Curry is pretty much the only guy who's there. I think, and Wiseman, they're still looking like a pretty good team. The Jazz are still pretty much as is. Suns, I guess, have dropped off a lot, and that's probably because Chris Paul has dropped off so significantly that team is now probably needs a little bit of a refresh. Interesting that Jabari Parker is also starting for them now. Then we've got the Nuggets. Not much really to say here. I mean, same sort of team as is. Same with the Kings. It looks like. Yeah. So interestingly, that the Lakers are so low. I guess LeBron James is probably last couple of seasons really in the league. Davis is having to carry that team now. And then the backcourt of Warren Harden for the Rockets is not projected to do very well. And the Clippers have obviously dropped to the very bottom of the division, losing Kwai Leonard. So it's a bit of a mix-up in terms of the Western Conference. That's going to be very interesting to see. But let's take a look and see how I think we're going to line up for this episode to begin with. So we're going with Peyton and Trent Jr. in the backcourt. I just think that backcourt worked so well last year. It was so efficient. Trent Jr.'s range was just so effective for us, and I'm gonna give him a shot to basically take those starter minutes to begin with. Whilst White is probably a better overall player, I'm still not convinced by his outside shot. It's still not quite there in my opinion. So we're going to let him come off the bench and pretty much take the shooting guard minutes and see how he does from there. And then obviously we've had to move Clark back into sort of the power forward position for some of the time to give Kwai Leonard those minutes that we need to give him. But it does mean that Clark's an interesting player now because we can basically move him between power forward and small forward because we know he can play both positions. And that does mean that for the start I've dropped Carter Jr. down to the bench, but you can see he's playing very, very heavy minutes, 32 minutes a game, mainly because he is going to be backing up both front court positions. It makes sense. We've got such a good player, but was starting for us last year. And the reason I've gone for Jackson Jr. over the likes of Carter is just the defensive ability. I think Jackson Jr. is a slightly better defender, whilst he's and probably a slightly better scorer. So I think Carter Jr. is going to be much better coming off the bench. And then in terms of the point guard position, this was a very interesting one because I was very tempted to give it to Kobe White because his actual passing numbers have come up now, or to give Jenkins a go. But I decided to go with the veteran McConnell to begin with. I just think that his court IQ, discipline, and his shooting will probably be a better fit at this beginning moment in time. So what that does mean is that I'm probably going to go and put Jenkins back in the D-League because I want him to continue to develop, but at the same time we don't necessarily need him at this moment. So Jenkins is going to come all the way down into the D-League for now. And then that means obviously the bench of McLemore and Hill and Ingles and Birch are not going to get many minutes to begin with. I'm going very front heavy. We're obviously going to get injuries. We know that's going to happen. But we'll see and we'll play it as we go from there. So I'm going to store this lineup so we don't lose it. You can see the other thing to note really is that I guess the guy who's kind of missed out for us is Patrick Williams. And simply because he's just not a good enough shooter. And I basically would rather give the minutes to Clark and Leonard than have Williams play. So Williams will be on the bench if he needs to. He'll play some garbage minutes probably. And that'll be it. And that's how we're going to go from to start this episode. So in terms of strategy, I'm not changing anything. I'm still going to stay grind offense. Still going to stay with the grind offense of where we were. I think that's what we were on. Straight man to man. No surprises really in terms of how this is looking. We're basically going to say Clark. I don't know why I've got Clark in here as marking the perimeter player. I'm not worried about that. Not worried about Leonard marking anyone in particular. And I think we were post focus, not grind. So I'm interested to see that changed. I'm guessing because we brought in a new coach. But I think we're going to go with post focus to begin with for the first week. See how we get on and go from there. I'm going to stay straight man to man to begin with. I think we're going to stay straight man to man for the first week. I just want to see how that plays out. We've obviously been very much passive before, which is very much focused on defense in the paint and post entries. We'll see how the man to man goes with post focus and go from there. So let's get ourselves forward. Let's sim the first week and see what happens. We'll just double check our emails before we begin. So it's just all about training camp and D-League, and we're not worried about that at this moment in time. Yeah, we know the season begins today. let's kick off and see what happens. Can we live up to the hype with this Bulls team, or are we going to falter? So we get a close win there against New Orleans to begin the season, and then we beat Orlando. 2 wins on the bounce. Let's have a very quick look and just see how this is looking. Is the rotation working as intended? So Kwai Leonard is obviously playing heavy minutes. Not great shooting numbers actually from him to start the season. 37% is not great, but I'm sure that will pick up. No surprise that Clark is still our main offensive output. I mean, we are going post-focus, so we are going to still be feeding him the ball and go from there. So let's sim forward another week. We'll do this a week at a time and see how we get on. And maybe we'll make adjustments, but I'm still want to see how this team plays out in this. I still think post-focus is the main thing. We just have such a good post presence that is pretty much where we're going to play. And I think we're in a good shape now. So let's progress forward. Let's get ourselves hammering through some of this season, shall we, guys? Let's get to the 1st of December and see what happens. We'll stop on injuries. I'm not going to stop on action emails. We're not getting on the trade block, so I'm not overly worried about that. So we beat Portland. We've gone 7-0 now. Leonard's picking up his numbers. We suffer our first loss to Sacramento there and our second loss to Denver. Back-to-back losses is always tough to take. And a third loss. Okay, we are now 7-3. That's not particularly great for us. We need to pick up and get a win. And we get a win here against Milwaukee to go 8-3. And we beat Cleveland back into 9-3 territory. Clark and Jackson and Leonard seem to be sharing some of the points, which is good to see. Suffer a loss there to Charlotte, but we bounce back with a win against Utah. And we've got an injury. Okay, let's take a look. What's the injury? It is to Trent Jr. He's out for 2 days. Let's have a look. How's White's numbers been looking? Not too bad, actually. Okay, White, I will give you those minutes then. Let's just go straight in and do that. And I think in terms of the backup shooting guard minutes, we can probably give that to McLemore, I guess, for now, and see how he goes. Maybe give him an opportunity to actually suit up in a Bulls uniform. See if he can maybe bring that bit of shooting that we want. That we basically just want anyone to kind of bring for us at this stage. So Trent Jr., you are out. McLemore, you are in. Put you down to 70. So obviously McLemore is just basically a poor defender, but just a really good shooter. So we'll see how he goes, maybe for the one game. Interesting to see who we're playing. We're playing the Pistons, who are 6-9 anyway, and we managed to get the win there. Let's take a look. How did McLemore do? That's the question. So 3-3, perfect shooting numbers, plus 16 on the board. Not too bad if I say so myself. Leonard 3-6, 28 minutes. Basically looks like hit foul trouble, but all in good shape. White had a very, very good game as well. So the question goes, do we just go forward for another day? Because I mean Trent Jr.'s back then. Let's take a little look and just see how Trent Jr.'s numbers are actually looking this year. That's always a key thing to look at. I mean, yeah, okay. Pretty much perfect. He might actually be a very good 6-man for us, but I mean, I guess we can maybe for another game. Let's just take McLemore out. I mean, we'll put Trent Jr. in the backup minutes. I just want to see just if White can maybe just provide something a little bit different for us as we play the Nuggets, who are 9-7, and we suffer a 3-point loss there to the Nuggets. Let's have a look and see how this went. So White's numbers 5-14. Clearly we missed that 3-point shooting. That's clearly a gap that we need to look at. So we'll restore our lineup and we'll bring Trent Jr. back into the lineup. White back down, and we'll carry on moving forward. Let's just actually, before we do that, let's have a quick look and see. Our defensive rating is 11th in the league. We are the second best offensive team. No surprise, we are that good an offensive team. I guess we don't tend to change too much in terms of the defensive setup. I guess we could go back down to passive and see how we go for a week and see whether that has any impact on our performance. Let's do that and see how we get on. So we get a nice win there against Charlotte and a win against Indiana. I think passive defense is definitely the way to go if you're just trying to bulk sim through with the rotation we've got. Certainly, let's get ourselves going forward. We'll carry on. We'll get through December now as well. I think that's the best way to go forward because we just have such a good interior defensive presence. We can cut off a lot of the drives and issues that we have. And we are now 16-5, so we're in good record form. Good performances so far this year. And it's interesting that it's not always Leonard who's leading the points numbers. There's a trade that's gone down there as well. An early trade. First round pick from Memphis has gone for Kevin Porter Jr. and Rogers Robinson, who I have no idea who that is. Interesting, there's an early trade by their AI there. And we've got 2 injuries. I don't know if you saw that pop up, but 2 injuries. So we've got 3 injuries. Okay, so we've got Trent out. We've got Carter Jr. suffered a broken foot. That's a bad one, and a sprained wrist for White. So it means that we are definitely going to be delving into the depth of this bench now. In terms of the shooting guard position, it's going to be interesting to see who we can bring in. So I guess obvious answer is, do we put Williams in, who we know is not a great shooter, in at the sort of the shooting guard position, or do we let McLemore have a little run? I mean, his defensive ability is not great. We've got Ingles, who's not as good a shooter, and obviously we've got McConnell, who we can put in. So I think what we will do is we'll give McLemore the bench minutes to begin with. So you'll play the garbage time and bench minutes. Trent Jr. is only out for 1 day, so we just need someone who's going to basically take those minutes for now. I think we'll give Williams a little run. Why not? Let's give him a very quick go. He's not had any opportunities to play this year, so we can certainly see how he goes in at shooting guard. He's a little bit lopsided, I guess it's fair to say. Now, Carter Jr. is the interesting one. We could just basically go and give all those minutes to Birch, and then if Birch will just basically play centre for us, I think we'll just put Jackson Jr. back to predominantly a power forward situation, and then any time that he's meant to be playing in the centre position, we'll give that to Birch. I think I'm not convinced that playing Birch at power forward is going to be the right thing to do. So we'll just flip these guys around. So he's just taken all those minutes off, and obviously the power forward minutes from the bench can go to. We could probably give that to Williams, can't we? And then we can basically give the small forward minutes to Ingles. Why not? So Carter Jr., you're right down the bottom here because you are definitely injured. And yeah, let's see. We've got one game to go. Let's just get through that. Well, okay, so it's only we're not playing. It looks like. So I think Trent Jr. can actually come back in now. Yeah, okay. So Trent Jr. is actually okay to come back in. So Williams can go back to the bench here. And Trent Jr., you can take your minutes back. That's nice. At least we're not losing 3 of our sort of starting rotation. That's pretty key. And I think we will go with that for now. So let's just double check. When is White meant to be back? 13 days. Let's go forward 13 days. It's the 22nd. And see how we get on. We suffer an immediate loss there to San Antonio. Ooh, it's back-to-back losses to Indiana as well. And we've got another injury. Okay, injuries are piling up in the month of December. Clark is out for 3 days. Payton is out for 1 day. I'm guessing we've got a game. Yeah, no surprise. Okay, I'm just going to let the AI suggest the matrix, I think, for this one. So McConnell will have to come in. Clark, you'll come out. Williams will go in, I guess. And just AI suggested for this game. Let's just get through this game and then we'll have a look at it. So we get a nice 9-point win there against Dallas, I believe that was. So now we've got Payton is back, so you can go back in. McConnell, you're back in here. Ingles is back down the bottom of the bench. Let's restore the lineup. So we've got to obviously put. Interesting where we've basically got 2 of our front court out at this point. So I guess Williams can play power forward. Yeah, why not? Williams could come play some power forward for a minute, and he could probably take those small forward minutes actually as well. So Williams is going to get his chance here to shine on this Bulls team. just due through to injury, really, to be honest. But we'll give him a chance. We know he's capable of basically being an okay player. I just don't like his shooting, to be perfectly honest with you. And then we've got the bench situation, which is basically going to be Birch, and obviously we'll put Jackson Jr. in at those centre minutes. In at those power forward minutes. And you can go in as a bench, as a garbage time power forward for us. And then any minutes that he was playing there, basically go like that. And then we've got to put White's minutes somewhere because he's out for 8 days. And, well, do we give Hill a go? I guess that's an interesting question. How has McLemore actually been doing for us? Okay, he's been shooting like the lights off basically when he's played in his limited minutes. So why not? We'll give McLemore. You've earned yourself an opportunity here, McLemore. Why not? I give you a go. So we've got. Let me double check. Actually, we've got 8 days until 2 until Clark comes back, and 8 until White comes back. Great. So we can just get through 2 games here. So day 1 and 2. Okay, there wasn't even a game. That's a bit frustrating. So we do have a game here against the Clippers, but the best thing is that Clark can come back into the rotation, and we can basically give his minutes back. So okay, I'm sorry about that, Williams. Unfortunately, you're not going to get a chance. all that hype up, and he's not even going to get a chance to have a go here. But when you have someone like Clark, who's coming in, basically was our best scorer last year, still is a phenomenal young talent. He's going to get the minutes back. And I think we go with that. So we've got 6 days until White comes back. We'll get through those 6 days. And I think at that point, guys, we might just end this episode and have a quick look at see how we've been doing. To get a win there against the Clippers. Birch with 16 rebounds. Wow, okay, he's doing well off the bench. Nice win against the Raptors and Cleveland. I think I might just push forward a little bit more. Let's just get ourselves going through. Let's get ourselves maybe into... Well, maybe let's get ourselves to the end of the year. Let's get to the end of the year. And we'll look at it from there. And lost to Brooklyn. We're now 24-8. But we managed to beat Charlotte. So far, we're looking in good shape. 26-8. I certainly would have taken that at the beginning of the season. We should be one of the top Eastern Conference teams at this point. It'd be nice if we could go into the All-Star game looking like we've pretty much locked up a playoff seed. That would be nice. Cool. So we end the actual year there, start of January. Let's take a little look at the standings quickly. So we are top, comfortably top by several games. Knicks surprisingly are in second place, with the Nets, no surprise, sort of tagged behind us. And in terms of the other conference, the Suns are still flying. Wow, okay, the Suns are still looking very good at 28-8. Let's take a little look at the roster and see how players have been forming. So obviously Kobe White hasn't necessarily played that many games, but his shooting numbers are definitely better. Granted, in slightly less minutes than last year, but he's actually improved his shooting, which is huge. Williams, we know, hasn't played a lot. His actual numbers are not too bad because he is just driving inside and playing inside. That's probably because we've been playing with power forward when he has had to play. Clark's numbers, no surprise again, are looking just absolutely incredible. He is shooting a lot of threes though. I guess that's maybe a bit of a concern. He's not a great outside shooter, but you know, inside perfect pretty much. Still putting up good numbers, 21-8 and is great numbers. Definitely still in good shape. Playing slightly less minutes than last year as well. Tony Jenkins hasn't played for us, but in terms of his D League, he's still putting out good numbers. 14-9-5. He looks like he's going to develop into a nice player for us. Elfrid Payton, numbers have definitely dropped down in terms of his actual shooting percentages, but his points are up. Again, we don't really have Peyton for his shooting. It's more for the fact he can handle the ball and play defense, to be perfectly honest with you. Trent Jr.'s numbers are still great. Yeah, 11 points per game, playing a lot more minutes than he was last year as well. So maybe not as much a step up as I maybe would have wanted for him. But 3-point range still providing that ability. Kwai Leonard's numbers are actually down, but he's playing slightly less minutes. Shooting wise, he's actually still in fairly good shape. His actual 3-point numbers are better, I guess because he's hitting more corner threes. But yeah, pretty much what we want from him. Wendell Carter Jr.'s numbers are still good, 14 and 10. Bearing in mind he's coming off the bench now, he's still putting up the same sort of numbers he was when he was starting. That's good to see. Jackson Jr. 18 and 6. His numbers are actually down a little bit. Shooting numbers are down as well a little bit. Maybe we need to sort of think about giving him some more instructions for next episode. Get him inside more, driving a bit more. McConnell's looking good. Birch obviously still okay. And then obviously we haven't really given George Hill a start or Ingles. So we're still in great shape. We are top of our conference by a little bit of a margin now. And we are the 5th ranked defensive team now. We moved to passive, and the 2nd best offensive team. So we are in great shape going into this season as we hit the start of January. We'll be back next time to get through some more games, see how we get on with this Bulls team. But being 28 and 9, certainly a great start for season 3 of this Let's Play series. As always, if you've enjoyed the episodes, please hit the like and subscribe button, and you can follow the episodes as they come out every single week. Can this be, in our 3rd season, the season where we go all the way with the Chicago Bulls team, helped by a massive free agency signing of Kwai Leonard? Tune in next time to find out.